Hey folks, how you doing? David Stewart here. So we're getting started. I think I actually started a few minutes early because I set this at 1:05 for some reason instead of 1. But it's whatever. It doesn't really matter that much. And so we'll get some gaming going. I'm going to start with a little bit of a pep talk for y'all today, just to get things started. So little things add up to big things, okay? So here's your pep talk today. Little things add up to big things. I had someone on the stream last night as I was playing some Final Fantasy ask, how do you stay motivated? And really, if you have your process really set up correctly, then motivation starts to become a lower and lower issue because the process has its own momentum. It's part of habits. It's just part of something you do. You feel compelled to do it because it's just part of your day, like getting up and eating in the morning if you eat breakfast. So that's one of my biggest pieces of advice, is that motivation will not be as much of an issue if you habituate what you're doing, if you habituate your process to a greater degree. But the big one here is that little things add up to big things, which is to say, if you're doing something on a daily basis, if you're doing something very frequently, if it's part of your routine, part of your process, your daily process of living, then that can yield actually really big results over the long run. So even if you're trying to write a book and you're only getting through a couple hundred words a day, a couple hundred words a day can add up real fast. So there's people who have only written one book in their life, and that's a big accomplishment. But you can actually, even just writing 500 words a day, finish a book in like half a year or a little bit more, So 1,000 words a day will yield you a pretty lengthy novel, 100,000 word novel, which is longer than most of the books you had to read in school, at least, in 100 days. You'll be done with the drafting process at least in 100 days. So even if you're at half that, 200 days, you're still at a little bit over half a year and you've written a book. And then at the end of that, you'll go, I wrote a book. Very few people are able to write books because they're not able to habituate that process. They're not able to just sit down and make attempts to write every day for a long enough time until something emerges, something good enough emerges. And through that repetition of process, even a small amount of work will start to improve you, improve what you're doing, improve your skill set in sometimes really, really massive ways that you don't really expect. Now, I first learned this really as a music student, because as a music student, it's all about practice. This is what they tell you all the time. You got to practice, practice, practice. And there's more to it than just practicing, because how you practice matters quite a bit. And that's something that I was trying very hard to get my students to understand, is that the ways in which you practice also matter, not just the fact that you're getting your instrument out every day. But even if you're getting your instrument out every day for 15, 20 minutes at a time, and that's pretty much all you're doing with it, at the end of maybe 6 weeks, you'll notice, whoa, all of a sudden I can play music. And then at the end of a year, your improvement is going to be just massive. It's going to be much more than you thought was possible. So I first learned that as a music student. And once I really got my practice down and got my practice routine kind of entered into my life as part of my habits, and I'm not really good at forming habits. This is something that I've had to learn along the way. I'm not a good positive habit forming person. I'm not a person that can decide I'm going to practice every day and then do it. I tend to fall into other habits. So reprogramming my habits has always been something that's tough. I just had to learn how to do it. So once I got my practice routine down and I was doing it every day, all of a sudden I went from being like really bad at the guitar, honestly, to being pretty much the best player I knew. Within, a year or 2 years, I went from being terrible to being really, really good. Good enough that like neutral people would say that I was a better player than any other person I knew, including like one of my teachers. Like, oh, he's your teacher? Well, like, you're better than him. It's like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that compliment. But it really, all of that growth just happened because of the consistency of practice. And you don't really see a lot of the improvement while you're in it. So it's also important for motivation to take stock of where you're at every once in a while. Take a look at what you've done and compare to where you've been. So take a snapshot of what you've done and look back. Sometimes when you get kind of rolling in the process, you don't really think about how far you've come and what you've actually accomplished. And I have this with me too, is that I often, the last couple of weeks, I felt like, man, I just don't have any time to work, don't have any time to write. I felt this for a while, and it's it kind of can take a little bit of toll on you. You stop and you look and you're like, well, I'm going to finish this book up that I'm writing probably this week. I'll probably be able to finish it. Looking realistically at what I've done every day. And I'm not even working that hard, which means I'll ship it in October. And that'll be the third book I printed this year, third book I published. And I have like 2 more pretty much ready to go after that. So it's like, I've done a ton of work. I actually have come a long way, and I'm more productive than most people. Even though when I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, my process is not as good as I want it to be right now, because I'm very stacked with time. I'm very distracted by other things in my life. There's other things that concern you and take mental energy away from what you're doing. Take stock of what you're doing and you realize you've come a long way. It's the same thing with, say, diet and exercise. If you can habituate your exercise routine, then you're gonna feel like you didn't do something right if you skip your exercise, or if you eat wrong, you'll notice it right away. So making that part of your habitual process will yield big results. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was hanging out. I think this was might have been at my bachelor party with an old friend of mine from high school who was he my best man at my wedding, or was he just in it? No, I think I only had one person in my wedding. It was my brother-in-law. It was my best man. But anyway, he's like, how'd you lose all this weight? Because I'd lost like 100 pounds. And I'm like, it's just a bunch of little things. It's just a bunch of little things that add up to a crap ton of weight loss, And I gave him an example. It was like, he's always drinking orange juice. He had these orange juices with him, and he would drink one every day. I'm like, so, let's look at that orange juice, for example. Like, how often do you drink orange juice? He's like, well, I drink one of these a day because it's good for you. I'm like, well, it's 200 calories. And it was like a little bottle. Orange juice is really calorie dense. It's more calorie dense than, this is a diet soda, but, regular soda is actually less calorie dense than orange juice, than a lot of these juices. So juices to me are treats. There are sometimes, I would drink juice as often as I would drink, say, regular soda or beer, which is not very often for me right now, but really in general. So I just said, hey, if you stopped drinking that orange juice, how much weight would you lose? I don't know. Well, it's 200 calories a day. That's actually could be pretty significant. And so to lose about a pound of fat, you got to burn off about 3,300 calories. So if you cut your calories by 200 a day and you add all that up, figure it out, like you'd be 20 pounds. There'd be a 20 pound of fat difference in 1 year if you just stopped drinking orange juice. And if you stop drinking orange juice and soda, you probably lose 30, 40 pounds in 1 year, just changing a couple things. Just saying, I'm going to drink Coke Zero instead of regular Coke. I'm going to skip the orange juice and I'm going to drink water in the morning. Or I'm going to skip the orange juice and I'm going to have a Splenda coffee or something, right? So just those little changes, all of a sudden it can push your weight, because if your weight's the same, that means, calories in, calories out. That's how thermodynamics works, right? So if your weight's stable, that means you're eating the amount of food that you're burning every day. So save 200 calories, all of a sudden it adds up to 20 pounds. And you just do a couple things like that. I stopped drinking the orange juice, I stopped drinking the soda. Instead of eating a hamburger, or like a full hamburger with everything on it, I don't have the cheese. And you add up the cheese. Oh, you'd lose 10 extra pounds just cutting the cheese off your cheeseburgers. You'd lose this much. If instead of eating French fries, you ate baked potatoes. If instead of eating the potato chips, you ate popcorn, right? You add up all these little substitutions that don't seem like a big deal. It's like, oh, instead of snacking on the potato chips, I eat the popcorn, and the popcorn's 50 calories and the potato chips 300 calories. You're saving, all of a sudden you've lost 50 pounds in a year, maybe more. Just changing little things without having to really think about, oh, how many calories am I eating and that kind of stuff. Just changing a little thing. So it can have a big impact. And a lot of people have drastically altered their physical appearance just by making little changes like that, or giving up beer. So just as an example, I've known people that would drink 4 or 5 beers a day and not really think about it, or at least a couple of beers a day, 2 or 3, and they don't really think about it. But they're overweight, man, I got to get in shape. How do I get in shape? It's if you just stopped drinking the beer, you'd be you'd be really lean. You'd lose a lot of weight if you just stopped drinking the beer. The beer, it adds up. It really adds up. So it can add up in the opposite direction too. Like things can drag you down. Lots of little things that have a negative impact on you can end up having a bigger negative impact. Oh, I'm gonna have potato chips. I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat a cookie. I get home, I'm a little bit stressed, I'm going to have 2 or 3 beers. And before you know it, you're 50 pounds overweight. And indeed, like, I had lost weight and then I gained some weight back. And I gained back like almost 40 pounds, really about 40 pounds. But it took 8 years. So 5 pounds a year, right? 5 pounds a year is not that much. So the first year, you don't really notice it. And you don't really notice it each year until you're like, man, I'm not as good looking as I used to be. And then, you got to turn that around. You know, you got to make a bunch of cut out those other little changes. Oh, I've eaten, eat donuts every so often. Eat this and it adds up to, it's not a big thing, but it adds up to 5 pounds a year. And over time, that adds up to 40, 50 pounds of weight gain. Right. So that's another example. So it's the same thing with writing, same thing with music. Make little positive movements and you'll find yourself at your goal a lot sooner, and that's going to feel very satisfying. And you're also, if you take those snapshots, you'll feel yourself moving closer to the goal and you'll have a better idea of what is in there. Now, a lot of this stuff is in my book. Where did I put it? Keys to Prolific Creativity. I'm so creative that I forgot where I put all my books. I got like stacks of books to sell here. So here you go. Keys to Prolific Creativity. You can actually listen to the entire audiobook here on YouTube if you want to. It's got all this stuff in addition to, basically this content's in my videos as well. But if you want it all in a nice little organized book, I have that in there. It's the importance of creating good habits. A lot of this stuff has to do with how you manage your life and how you organize your time and where your priorities are rather than big things. So the last thing I guess I'll say is to contrast with that, you have like the boot camp. And I talk about like the boot camp mindset in here too, because you can use this. But people go to fitness boot camps and they'll have a personal trainer like yell at them for 6 weeks and they'll exercise really hard and they'll like they'll cut some fat off and maybe get stronger and they'll feel really good about it. But then they don't transition away from that. When it's done, what happens? They just start doing what they did before and then they gain the fat back. They don't go to the gym, they don't train with that intensity, and they just lose everything they had. So you can work with high intensity bursts, but to me, that's more stressful and not as effective as just having little things that add up over time. But for some people, it's just not real. Like let's say if you're a soldier on deployment, it's rather difficult to write a book when you're deployed. It's just, you could do it. Like you could bring a notebook and write lots of little things, but it's not going to be as effective as if you're actually sitting down at like your computer, at your word processor, typing out the words. So when you get back, then you have the writing sprint. I'm going to write 3,000 words a day for 6 weeks and just get a book done. So you can do that depending on how your life is arranged, because different people have different things. But, with these fitness boot camps, that's the main thing I see is people just kind of rebound and go back to where they were. And then they felt good about themselves for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then that's the end of it. And we used to see it, say, like with these, I grew up as a Mennonite Brethren, which is a Protestant evangelical sect. And you'd have these church camps and people would get really excited about ministry. They'd get very excited about, their life as a believer. And then we'd have this phrase, coming down off the mountain, because you go to these like summer camps like up in the woods here in California. People would come down off the mountain literally and just kind of fall back to where they were. They'd stop feeling it, right? They'd stop feeling as good about what they were doing. They'd stop, they wouldn't keep up their study. They would go back and do their old habits that they felt ashamed of and things like that. And so people would just backslide into their normal bad behavior. And that's because those short intensity bursts don't create the long-lasting things. It'd be better if you really wanted to change your life just from a spiritual or sin perspective, is to change one little thing at a time until you're close to where you want to be. You just make a commitment. I'm going to go to mass every week and do that, or I'm going to do this every week, or I'm going to actively focus on just like maybe you have an unhealthy relationship with caffeine. I'm going to just tackle that one issue, this one vice that I have, which is that I drink and I'm kind of in it and I'm okay with it right now because I'm just in a place where I am dieting and the caffeine is part of that. But eventually I have to like dial it down and let me just focus on removing this vice from my life and don't try to focus on being perfect at all moments. So you're just going to fail and feel bad about yourself because everybody fails. And if you fail at a day in your process, it's not a big deal because, I wrote 6 days this week instead of 7. It's not that big a deal. You'll get there eventually because those little things end up adding up. So anyway, that's my pep talk for today. Thanks so much, guys. And let's maybe check out some chat and play some games. I hope you guys are having a great day. All right, I see one at the bottom that I just think is hilarious here from Zimamaru. Microsoft Word 2016 told me some of my choice of language could be offensive to the reader. Is this new or something? When did Word start telling people what might be offensive? So Word and Grammarly both do it. And you can always ignore that safely. The only time I would say to pay attention to that is if you are, say, on the autism spectrum, and I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. If you are on the autism spectrum and you are writing things for a professional environment like interdepartmental memos in corporate America, maybe you want to pay attention to that because that's somebody saying, use of gendered language might upset someone, and there's going to be maybe a blue hair in some department in your company that's going to be upset that you used chairman instead of chairperson or just chair. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you that it's ridiculous to call a person a chair. A person is not a chair, right? No, you can have a female chairman. Chairman's just a title. It's not intrinsically tied to the concept of man. It just means chairperson, right? But chairperson makes it sound like some sort of monster from like Delicious in Dungeon. Here comes the chairperson. Let's chop him up and eat him, right? We destroy our language in an attempt to change its meaning, or really we destroy our language in an attempt to avoid offending people. It's kind of like the word handicap. Handicap is now considered not the most kosher thing to say. It was originally crippled, right? So we don't want to offend people by calling them cripples or saying that they're lame. If you can't walk, you are lame. That's literally the meaning of the word lame. And, they've even done it where they want to change it in Bible translations. This man, it says he's lame. Shouldn't we change it to handicapped? No. Lame means something specific. It means he can't walk. And it means something because Jesus healed him, right? Get up, take your mattress, and walk out of here. You're going to eliminate the meaning of that. So if you are on the autism spectrum and you're writing for like a corporate environment, that's the only time I'd pay attention to that. Otherwise, just ignore it. Because what that is that's the HR department at Word and other places saying, well, we want to appease the people who are going to complain about this language, so we'll put it in there. And it's really, like I said, it's really only useful if you have some sort of disability, like you were on the autism spectrum, then perhaps it could be useful. But for regular people, no. And especially if you're writing fiction, you could safely ignore that. Grammarly does the same thing. This is gendered language. It's like, I don't care about gendered language. English is a non-gendered language, guys. There's no gender in English. Gender is a linguistics term. So in French, you have masculine and feminine. In Latin, you have masculine, feminine, neuter. These are just classifications of words. In other languages, you have different genders that have nothing to do with sex, that can't even be put onto masculine and feminine. It's like rough and smooth, or formal and informal genders, right? Or personal or impersonal genders. There's things in Chinese where it's like personal or impersonal, depending on what pitch you use. There's a lot of subtleties to language. And so gender is a linguistic term. The fact that it's been co-opted to mean like sex, it should disturb us that our language has been destroyed that way. But anyway, there we go. You can safely ignore that. Damn, I just ate 4 cookies and now I feel like a fat piece of shit. Don't eat any more cookies today, and tomorrow don't eat cookies. Okay, you ate too many cookies today. That's just today, guys. So you just got to frame that. It's like, oh, I ate too many cookies today. Or okay. Or you can eat something better later. It's like, I ate 4 cookies. What am I going to have for dinner? Well, maybe don't have a quadruple cheeseburger if you're worried about your weight. If you don't care, like if you're bulking or something, or you just don't care, or like you can't ever gain weight because you're just one of those people that's like, my fat cells don't hold fat. You meet those people like that where I eat like 8,000 calories a day and I'm shredded and I never exercise. It's like, that could actually have killed you in the past, I bet. It's like in some starvation mode that might have killed you. I've started reading Muramasa these days. Great job with the characters. I already love them. Thank you. I'm so glad you like it. I had a great time writing it. Never knew people would be called chair, but that seems to be the world we live in. Yeah, I mean, I experienced this at the university level 15 years ago. So what everybody's experiencing at the pop level now, like out on Twitter, this was the reality of universities 15 years ago when I was teaching in them. And I remember one of my teachers and I guess a colleague at one point, because I was faculty, he wrote a book called Plagues of the Mind. His name is Bruce Thornton. And you can probably find interviews with him on YouTube. I think he's been on Fox News and stuff too. He made a point about that. It's like, it's ridiculous that they want you to call things names that in a literal sense have no meaning, that just have opposite meaning or destroyed meaning. Like calling a person a chair. That's not something you call someone. You can't call a person a chair. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, what's your position? President. Oh, well, that's specific. It'd be like calling somebody a top. Top of what? That actually means something in gay culture, but there you go. Metal Gear Solid 5 deals with the idea of destroying culture and civilization by destroying their native language. We do not inhabit a land, but a language is what the villain says. Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I have it. I have it like on my PlayStation, but I just don't have time to play a lot of games. In fact, I'd rather be playing like the Final Fantasy remake on this stream, but I guess I could bring my PlayStation in here and stream it. I have like a whole thing to do that, but undoubtedly my daughter's going to go down for a nap. She's probably down for a nap right now, and then on Saturdays my son and my wife like to have like a little movie date. They eat some popcorn and watch a movie together. Some time for them to talk about stories and movies and stuff like that. So I'm in here, and they want to watch it on and inevitably what would happen is like, where's the PlayStation? Like, you can watch Netflix just on the TV. You can watch it on the Wii U. You can watch it on the PlayStation 3, and they'd be like, but I don't know how to use those. I don't know how to find it on that. My son would probably tell her, this is how you do Netflix on the Wii U. Boop, boop, boop. Or actually they'd probably like put in a Blu-ray. That's the only Blu-ray play. No, PS3 plays Blu-rays too. What am I talking about? Yeah, so the PlayStation 3 also plays Blu-rays. So this is another, I'll mention this too, is like PlayStation 5, they're like, everyone wants the backwards compatibility into infinity, right? And I understand that because I have a lot of consoles and, there's a Sega Genesis behind me. It's just not hooked up because I don't have room to hook up every console. So it's like, it'd be nice if my PlayStation 5 would play every game for every Sony console. Yes, that would be very nice. But if you have a PlayStation 3, it kind of already does 3 generations. I think that was the peak of what it could do. Technically, you could play everything from I think you could play almost everything on a Wii U. Wii U is like one of the best emulation platforms you can mess around with. It's really easy to run homebrew software and stuff on it. You can even run GameCube games, but you can't run them off the GameCube discs. It won't read the GameCube discs. But it's all in there. It'll run the GameCube games like within the Wii menu, the original Wii menu, like perfectly. But you have to run them on like a flash drive. Unfortunate. Do you think that if Trump wins, first of all, thank you for the super chat, I appreciate it. Do you think if that Trump wins, American burns, and if Biden wins, American burns? Yes, so I think if Trump wins, there will be rioting, and I think if Biden wins, I don't think it will stop. I think there will also be rioting, because there'll be something else. And that's how it's going to be. And I think the general prediction that everybody's coming to is Trump is going to have a landslide victory on election night, and then they're going to be trying to find mail-in ballots inside of cars and stuff for weeks at a time to try to drag out the election, even though it'd be very obvious that he won. That's because the left often sends a really strong tells. They project very, very openly. They're like, we need to be prepared if Trump's not willing to leave office because of election results. That's going to be them. They're going to try to contest the election. They did it with George W. Bush, right, where they tried to recount the votes, and every time they recounted the votes, Al Gore gained votes. Statistically, that's very unlikely. That every time you recount it, the other candidate keep finding more ballots that they say are for Al Gore. They start looking at him and being like, "That's Al Gore," That was the Florida recount thing. Eventually, the Supreme Court was like, no, you have to certify the election. Like, we have to get on with things, guys. Come on. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, I'd say make sure that you are well stocked on ammunition. And everyone should own a gun. General thing. A new feature. All right. Is Trump still going to win? The demographics are against him. Well, I mean, if you look at, say, Hispanic voters in Florida, the demographics are shifting towards Trump because I think people had assumed that the Hispanic vote was pretty much locked up by Democrats, but now it turns out there's more complex. First of all, as a demographic is larger and larger, it ends up being less unified. Just like the whites. Like, the whites are not a unified demographic. They'll only be a unified demographic once they're in the minority. But as the Hispanic population gets bigger and bigger, you realize that not everyone thinks the same just because they're from Mexico or Central America or a country in the Caribbean. They are going to think differently based on where they've been, what their experiences are, what their personal desires are. And so it turns out, hey, what's with all these Cubans not wanting to vote Democrat all of a sudden in Florida? It's like, well, they see what the language is and they have a memory of communism. There you go. That tends to be it. So I think the Trump side means that one thing: Trump's held back on will be employed, the Insurrection Act. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Trump has it on lock by now. Yeah, I agree the demographics are against him, but I think that's for later in the decade. It'll be very hard from 24 onwards. Yeah, we'll see. Cubans are exiles. They're anti-commie. Yes. Most people don't like the far-left communist stuff that drives people away. Yeah, most people don't like it, but I actually think there's a huge number of whites especially that have been slowly indoctrinated into believing it without realizing they're believing it. They're like, we're for socialism, not communism. You look at it, you're like, no, you're just for communism. But communist countries, by their own definition, were never communist. I'll point this out to people because were they classless, stateless societies? That's the communist society. No. The USSR was a socialist republic, and the idea was to spread communism or to arrive at communism and in the ideal Marxist state. So we call them communists for shorthand, but by their own definition, they were not communist. They hadn't arrived at that point yet. Rather, they were making the society into communism. They were making communist men. They were totalitarian socialist regimes, and it's pretty much impossible you cannot have a socialist regime without an extremely strong central state, because you have to be taking people's property by force, and you can't do that without a really robust and violent state. It's just impossible. Do you think the right-wingers will take advantage of the situation if Trump wins? For example, they go out in the streets shooting rioters? No, I don't think they will. No, I don't expect that at all. My parents fled communism. The same roaming mobs, that's a staple of communist revolts. Yeah, you see it. And you only see it in cities that permit it. So one of our things about federalism in the United States is that we have certain controls you are delegated to the local population, not the central government. And this has been a really interesting test of all of that because the ideal thing for a prosperous society would have been to immediately put down the revolts and the riots, to suppress them heavily and with a lot of strength, so that they not only did they end, so that people in those cities could feel safe again, but that the people who did it would be unable to do it again, so they'd be locked up or dead, and the people who would consider do it would really think twice about it because of the consequences of it. So that's the way the Romans would have done it, is that the local governor would have called in the legions and they would have just stamped out the rebellion immediately. But we have this idea of federalism that it's the locality that's supposed to take care of it. So while a city like Portland burns, it's predominantly because the local government just has no desire to stop them. Like it's a I don't know what to call it. It's like autophagia. They're eating themselves. And it's only a conflict when federal forces come in to protect federal property. We're like, well, we have the right to protect federal property, there's an evil Trump. Come on. The reason we didn't care about Department of Homeland Security agents or whoever it happened to be protecting federal buildings and arresting people and vanning rioters is because that's what we wanted to happen the whole time. There should have been a very extremely swift crackdown, mass arrests of people doing that sort of thing, and that would have put a stop to it very quickly and restored order. So the question is, do you want order or do you want chaos? And clearly they want chaos because they allow it. So that's one of the things we're dealing with. There's no riots where I'm at. I'm out in a little country town. Ain't gonna happen. There's no riots in, more conservative slanted cities. Cities in general lean further left, but there you go. Hispanic and Latino are often arbitrary labels. True. Leia Remini is considered white because she's of Italian descent, yet Jessica Alba has lighter skin and is considered Latino. On not only that, but I mean, if you spend time talking to people from South America, people from Chile, Argentina, they often don't consider themselves Hispanic. Many of them are of Italian descent, let's say. And so they really consider themselves Italian. Hispanic means Spanish. They're not of Spanish descent, and nor do they consider themselves Latino or they're not mixed in with native blood. They're essentially European. Pure European. They consider themselves white. So up here in the north, we tend to look at everything south of the Rio Grande as basically vast variations of Mexican, and that's not like everybody's a mestizo, everybody's mixed race, Spanish and Indian, and that is nothing could be further from the truth, especially when you get into South America and you get to all the South American countries really are very genetically diverse. You have Brazil, they speak Portuguese, they're not Spanish, right? And there's a large number of races there that have mixed in different ways and also have conflict with each other too, that haven't mixed, including Africans. Just because somebody, I remember it's like, Sammy Sosa, where was Sammy Sosa from? They're like, Sammy Sosa is black, but how could he be black if he's from Mexico or wherever he is? Where's he from? I'm trying to remember. Sammy Sosa. But I think Sammy Sosa's been taking like pills to turn white. Dominican. Yeah, he's from the Caribbean. Shouldn't he be, how could he be black? It's like, there's lots of black people in the Caribbean. Dude, Jamaica's in the Caribbean. There's lots of black people in South America. Lots of Africans spread all over that were brought here. So, there's blacks in Mexico. You can be Mexican and be black. That exists. I was thinking about writing a story about white Black Lives Matter activists who go around harassing other whites for Black Lives Matter only to realize black people died out as a race 100 years ago. Like some kind of Matrix thing. Because they don't know any blacks. That would be really funny. It's like how many, you're being horribly oppressive to blacks, and then it's like they don't exist, or they like died out, or they all left or something. It's like, what? It's like they got abducted by aliens. Like, but I've been reading all these books about how bad we were to them. It's like they didn't even exist. Do you prefer novels over novellas? I have, I like different things. It just depends. I prefer books that are good. So if it's a story should be whatever length it needs to be. If it's a novella and it's good, it's good. If it's a novel and it's good, it's good. The benefit of a novella or just a shorter books you can read quicker, so you get to the ending faster, which is fun. It's fun to just plow through a story and digest it really quickly. There's a video of Jessica Alba getting her DNA results and finding out she's 90% European. Someone up there joked that she's whiter than Larry David, who's 25% Indian. She was upset. Yeah, people put too much stock in they have an identity. Lots of people in Mexico are 100% European. Who cares? Who cares? Your identity is more than just where some ancient ancestor came from. It's a whole culture that gets tied to that too. So I'm not like a hardliner genetic person, because otherwise where would I fit? I got like an Irish mother, a half Cherokee father who's Scottish. Am I Scottish? My last name's Scottish, but I'm less Scottish than I am Irish, and I'm more Dutch than I am Scottish. So I'm like, my wife's Dutch, like, I don't know, but my wife's also like half Swedish, but she grew up in a Dutch household. So anyway, like, it's more than just genetics. So your culture is more than just the genes that make up you, right? There you go. As an Italian, it's quite funny to watch people apply those labels. One day, Italians are black, the next white, then maybe Hispanic, and so on. Yeah. And not only that, but depending on who you talk to, Italians are not white. It's like Italians and Greeks, suddenly, it just depends on how, somebody who's really into, I don't know, white power or something. All of a sudden, Greeks are not white, And it's like, where would you draw the line at white? It's like, well, Italians aren't white because their skin is slightly darker than mine. It's like, well, not all of them, but Sicilians who are Mediterranean have a little darker skin. Yeah, it's not African skin, right? Oh, they don't have blue eyes like the Germans do. Well, they're not from the forest, right? Oh, well, in order to be white, you have to have super pale forest skin. Yeah, all the people from the forests have really light skin. Yeah, we get it. If you're from Sweden, you have light skin. Okay, does that mean you're somehow not European? Or really, the old label was just Christendom. So, what about East Med people? What about people from Lebanon? Oh, they're not white. What are they? Well, they're Middle Eastern. Not Middle Eastern. They're not Arabs, right? They're a different ethnic group. So we get to, once you start trying to generalize everybody, it gets upsetting. Your enemies decide what you are. Don't forget that, American whites. Scotland forever! Freedom! What was the hardest book for you to get through that you completed? Whoa. It's a hard one to answer. Maybe... Probably like Evelina, which was a really early novel. It was so boring. It was basically written for middle-class, late 18th century white women. It's just really boring. There was just not much story that I cared about. It was hard to get through. I think it was called Evelina. Who wrote it? Let's see here. Oh, Fanny Burney. That's right, Fanny Burney. Actually, Fanny Burney wasn't too bad looking. I'll just throw that out there. Yeah, in 1778. It's very boring. But other than that, it's probably Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Man, that book was boring. And just bad. It was really hard to get through. I had to force myself to read it because everyone was talking about it. And it got to the end, I'm like, man, I don't know why people like this book. It was just painful to read. Far less painful than Twilight. Twilight is kind of dumb. It's not really. It's written for 12-year-old girls, but you can read it really quickly, so it's really not hard to get through. I used to think but Name of the Wind's 900 pages of nothing, of 13-year-old self-insert fantasy. I used to think my heritage was complicated. I'm half Italian, half Polish. Lots of people seem to have pretty mixed lineages. Yeah, it's true. Atlas Shrugged wasn't that hard to get through. There's a lot of long speeches in Atlas Shrugged, but they're good. The speeches are actually good and interesting to read. It's kind of like reading an essay inserted in the middle of a book. If the essay's good, I guess it's okay. I guess I complained about that with Starship Troopers. Large portions of Starship Troopers, though, is really easy to get through. But Starship Troopers, large portions of it are just these kind of Socratic dialogues between a teacher and the main character. Who am I thinking of? Rico. And they're really interesting on their own, but they're not the story. And it turns out that that's most of the book are these dialogues, and there's really not much story there at all in Starship Troopers, at least the book. So it makes it hard to adapt Starship Troopers because you kind of want a plot for a movie. But that one's actually pretty easy to get through because the essays are interesting. I don't really agree with them, but it's not it's not hard to get through those because they're interesting. Same thing I think with Atlas Shrugged. I think in some cases the speeches are more interesting than the story, for being honest. Have you heard of the movie studio Invisible Productions that Chris Pratt started? Oh, Indivisible Productions. No. He describes it as for creating content which aims to sow the growing divide in this country. I haven't heard of it, but I don't pay that much attention to really anything. I'm busy. Yeah. So I've done content. People got very upset about my content with Starship Troopers because I'm like, it's not my favorite Heinlein book. I actually don't like it that much. I don't think it's a very good story. and I don't really agree with the messaging. So that just leaves me in a place where I'm like, I don't really like the book very much. But it's interesting, and so if you're really into, if that messaging really resonates with you, it's well presented, so you may like that. But as far as Heinlein stories, I think better ones are like Stranger in a Strange. Well, Stranger in a Strange Land is interesting, and that may be one I'll revisit for the channel because it's very, very liberal. And it has a rather postmodern approach, which is like people's attitudes are a result of their culture, not themselves. So it's a very, very much a nurture versus nature argument. But really, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress is a really fun one, you know? I really like that book. There's a lot more fun Heinlein stories out there besides Starship Troopers. It's the one that he gets the most attention for, and he gets the most criticism for it, even though he himself is really... You know, it gets called fascist, and it kind of is in some ways, but it's... Heinlein himself really isn't. Heinlein himself is just kind of a very socially liberal person. He's a libertarian, and the kind that just kind of believed in free love and stuff, old libertarians. So there you go. French and Welsh on both sides of my family. Then there's German and Irish. Yeah, just kind of a mix. Pratt said of his studio, I'll focus on offering people reprieve from the crushing weight of the falling sky. See movie, stow, phone, laugh beside somebody you've been told to hate. I like the Starship Troopers board game from Avalon Hill more than the book myself. I think, yeah, Heinlein's always good to read. You know, he's got a lot of cool ideas, and he's actually very good at executing stories, but I don't think there's much story in Starship Troopers. There's big ideas, not very well executed story. And even there's some stuff that kind of disturbed me. I talked about it. There's kind of an Oedipus complex in there where like the main character Rico ends up with his father as his like subordinate, which is really weird. I just had an unsettling effect the more I thought about it. It's just a weird thing. A pox upon thee. Person of color is a political term. Yeah. Used to form an alliance against whites. Whites equals of European descent. Yeah, so the whole thing about POC is like, it's kind of offensive to just boil somebody down to not white. It's a way to say non-white. Well, damn it. Don't you think that person has more to them than not being something, than not being from Europe? You know, it just wipes away their cultural identity and lumps them in. Hey, we're all persons of color. You know, you may be saying that to a white Mexican with 100% European DNA. You may be saying, you're a person of color, and you're going to say that to somebody from Chile who's 100% Italian. Or German. You know, there's Germans in Mexico with blue eyes and blonde hair. They're German. They're 100% German. You know, oh, you're a person of color. Doesn't look like a person of color. It's just a way to lump all people that aren't white into a group so that you can try to ally them against white people. And in the process, you completely strip away their own identity and culture. Frankly, it should be offensive to everybody. All right, let's go ahead and play some games and have some fun. So we were playing Witcher 3. Some people gave me some advice to go ahead and turn down the NVIDIA hair, and I tried that out, and the game looks much better without the NVIDIA hair. One of the things that they did with the NVIDIA hair is they made his little necklace. It like rocks all about in the wind, so it's like it looks like really bizarre and very strange. So I turned that off. Turned off the NVIDIA hair. We already did this. All right, continue.
Your friend Geralt of Rivia seeking his lover of war, the sorceress Yennefer. She'd eluded him for years, but now seemed just a few steps ahead.
Sorceresses in the Witcher world, I believe, cannot have babies. I think in the story where Geralt meets Yennefer, he meets her and she's like naked and she's just been done with like an orgy or something.
Yes? What is it?
What are we doing, Vesemir?
Realize it's been half a year since we hunted down that fiend in Garoon.
Yes. Well, that was more than a fiend. What was that bastard's name? Drugan? They will lie light upon it. Things used to be simpler. Monsters were bad, humans good. Now, everything's all confused.
Used to be exactly the same. You've just forgotten.
Do well not to point out my age. You're nearly a century old yourself.
Oh, interesting.
See you later, Vesemir.
Oh, am I going to talk to some peasants? Figure out what to do.
Looking for someone.
And we seek some peace and quiet. Out of my face, freak. For your breath sours my beer.
Let's see. Use the Axis sign. This sign influences people's minds, causes them to act according to your will. To charm more stubborn individuals, invest in the delusion ability in the character panel. Okay. Let's see what we're doing. Should I threaten him or not? Oh, Sofia Vergara, she's Colombian but a natural blonde. It didn't fit their preconceptions. Yeah, you don't look like my Mexican maid. That's people in Hollywood. How could you be from Mexico and not have black hair? You don't look like my Mexican maid who's like 100% native. Well, damn it. There's more diversity than your Mexican maid.
Great woman dressed in black and white. Singer, talk.
Folks say the lady rode through the village a few days back. Galloping so fast she knocked Radabor into a ditch.
Which way did she go?
Dunno. Lots of tracks leading off the main road.
No one finishes Oblivion. I just finished the Dark Brotherhood quest and thought I'd play something different.
I'll take your tongue if you don't shut up.
Alright. Let's talk to this lady. Oh no, we already talked to her.
Farewell.
Leave the good wife behind. And this guy is green, so let's talk to him. Gunter.
Looking for a woman. Like everyone. Not like everyone. And not just any woman. Mine smells of lilac and gooseberries, dressed in black and white.
2 schnapsies. It'll lift your spirits.
Fine, I'll have a drink. Can we cut to the chase? You see her or not?
Jennifer of Vengerberg.
After you listen to the audiobooks, you always want to hear Geralt with like a Scottish accent.
Yet you described her perfectly. Once I hear something, I never forget. Can't help it.
How do you know Yennefer?
What a question. Master Dandelion's ballad, of course. The only way a humble merchant might hope to run.
Yeah, she saves Dandelion or Dandelion.
He's as lucky as I am.
And runs into a very patient witcher.
It's a Geralt of Rivia himself. The Butcher of Blaviken.
How do you write good comedy in a book? Well, you're gonna have to rely on situations and dialogue because you're not gonna have a lot of slapstick. You can't have an actor like Jim Carrey carry comedy in a book, right? It has to weigh on the irony of the dialogue or the funny punchlines in the dialogue and awkward situations and how they resolve. It's the same thing, that you'd write for a play, really.
Recognize me from Master Dandelion's ballads too.
To your health.
Yeah, the women on the telenovelas are they're Spanish and German descent. And they're very attractive. And the other thing is they also get cast very much based on their beauty. It's just a standard. People want to watch beautiful people on TV. And Hollywood used to have that. But I didn't watch the Witcher series. I think I've said this before. Simply because the actresses that they showed, I'm like, these are all ugly. These are all like 5s. I didn't want to turn on the TV and see a 5. I want to turn on the TV and see a 9 and a 10. I want to see hot women in my media because Damn it, it's a fantasy. I should be presented with things that are attractive.
What do you do? Who are you?
A mangy vagrant. Gaunter Odin, at your service.
Vagrant. Got a profession now?
Once a merchant of mirrors. The madding crowd dubbed me Master Mirror, or the Man of Glass.
Well, I thought, what did we talk? I don't know if we're talking about Yennefer. Like female sorceresses, their ovaries are supposed to wither. That's from the books. So I don't know.
You seen Yennefer?
Deepest apologies, but I must ask. Is this about love?
None of your business.
Yes. As a vagrant, I deserve no explanation.
What do you know? Tell me.
Before you appeared, it never occurred to me that might have been Yennefer. Who would have thought?
Get to the point.
Yeah, I'm not buying a swimsuit issue with a bunch of fatties and trans girls. It's not for me.
At the camp, she rode in there. Dark of night, black and white, gooseberries and... Yes, I know. Had a terse exchange with the garrison commander and raced off.
Where to?
I'm not omniscient. Ask at the garrison.
Thanks.
I've had a couple people ask me to watch Cuties and
Men
break
of
it
the road
down.
must stick together. Perhaps one day I'll be in trouble. You'll be
I'm not sure if I want to subject myself to that because I have a daughter, damn it. You know, I don't want to see that kind of stuff. Thank you for the super chat, Lawrence. I caught a stream I like this time. Usually it's 2 a.m. when you stream. Love all your videos, David. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to try to do this every Saturday, and I'm going to try to move the Wednesday stream maybe to Friday night or something, and do something else with it. Because Wednesday, it's just, in the middle of the week, it's just a little bit tough for my family. You know, we're just really busy in the middle of the week now. You can store weapons and junk in your stash. Okay. Just like Diablo. Whatever. My bags aren't really full yet, I don't think. I'm not sure what your plan for side quests are for this game, but there's one that is time sensitive you won't be able to do once you leave the area. Others you can come back to do. Have you read this about Cyberpunk 2077? The sex scenes are pretty hard. According to Russian journalists who saw one, Cyberpunk 2077 comes close to pornography. Well, that's interesting. I haven't seen that. Anyway, I was thinking about the cuties thing, right? Is like the defense when I first started criticizing it was like, oh, it's actually about how this stuff is bad. Well,
I'm drinking.
you probably wouldn't make a hardcore porn about how porn is bad. The medium and the message need to match.
Don't want your kind here.
Am I gonna have to kill someone? Let's see here. Yeah, so the problem, like, South Park has made tons of content about the negativities of child sexuality, believe it or not. They make rape jokes and stuff too, but a lot of that has the pedophilia jokes, but a lot of that is absurdity is really pointing to the fact that kids are over-sexualized. They even have jokes they had in the first couple seasons like baby's boobs destroy the world. Like this, they have Wendy like getting a boob job as an 8-year-old. It's supposed to disturb you, but in terms of form, they don't even look like human beings. So you can't look at the sexuality of a child in South Park and think of it and be titillated by it, even if you're into that, because it doesn't even look like a child. It's not even like lolicon porn. So you can make messages that are against that without filming girls doing dirty dancing. And apparently there's like an exposure of one of their like underdeveloped breasts, which is not acceptable to me. But you know, that's what you get with that. It's not a necessary movie. You didn't have to make that movie to try to make that message. So really, that's just a cover for the movie being what it is.
Better round up someone
Yeah,
else
it's
now.
animated. No children involved, and they don't even look like children.
Well, I could fuck you up by myself.
If I had a bag over my head and my hands tied behind. Actually, no, not even then.
Chet, Lesh, back off. I'll teach this vagrant a lesson. Man on freak.
Closer.
Trying to figure out how to counter this guy's punch. Here. There we go. Roach! Alright. Ask the Nilfgaardians about Yennefer. Okay. Let's walk around. Your game state will automatically save when you reach certain milestones. Okay. Quick save. Good old F5. Now, can I like loot these guys' unconscious bodies? Can I like take their gold? I don't think I can. Go back to the tavern and talk to the professor to learn the true game of The Witcher. There's a professor here, huh? Is he gonna teach me how to play like Gwent or whatever? Professor. The scholar.
What a waste of time. The earth shall revolve around the sun before you comprehend these rules.
I don't have any thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077. I haven't seen anything about it yet, so I haven't been paying attention. Sorry.
Geralt of Rivia, Witcher with tenure. I'm looking for a woman, long hair, dressed in black and white. Seen anyone like that?
Of course not. Unlike the populace, I know the horsewoman of war is pure poppycock.
Horsewoman of War. What's that about?
Folks say an omen. A beautiful phantom rides the fields at night, looks as you described her. Armies follow her, and all who cross her path meet with misfortune.
I can vouch for the last bit. Know where they saw her?
No, facts interest me, not fairy tales.
Not a place I'd ever expect to find a scholar. Taking you're fleeing the war.
Quite the opposite. Chasing it. I'm headed for the front.
Tired of life.
I seek knowledge, which I value more than life itself. I've a thirst no dusty old tones can quench. I wish to see the Nilfgaardian invasion with my own eyes, understand it, and record it all in my chronicle, my magnum opus.
Interesting. We need somebody to describe war, what it's really like. Not colorful banners and generals making moving speeches, but rape, violence, and thoughtless cruelty.
Ah, I see you lack the polish of the academy.
Will you be getting a console?
Details of no import to the war's
What are your thoughts on Pure Flicks? All the previews I've seen of it make it look really lame.
Tell that to the people whose houses burned down.
Will you be getting a console? Probably. I like console gaming a lot, and I like it actually for reasons that have to do with productivity, which is I like to leave this room and go into a different room to wind down after I work, and just having separate work and play spaces is really helpful to me. So I'll probably buy one. I mean, if you're gonna put money on it, it's probably PS5 because I've pretty much bought PlayStation for a long time, and generally I like their exclusives better. But I don't know. I could be swayed to buy the other one.
War reached Novigrad yet?
Nope. First it's only enough time. Nilfgaard on one bank, Redania on the other, drooling over the city like dogs over a juicy bone.
Many a rulers choked on that bone.
True. We value our liberty in Novigrad, and we know how to fight for it.
The scholars especially.
The sword is not the only weapon. Do not forget, architects from our academy designed the city walls. Walls no war machine has ever crumbled.
Gotta go. So long.
A moment, Witcher. You strike me as a man of the world.
Oh, now we get to play.
Are you familiar with Gwent?
No, and I don't have
How do you feel about turn-based games such as Final Fantasy Tactics or card games? Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my favorite games of all time. I do like card games. And in general, I do like turn-based RPGs. I've played a lot of them, and I do enjoy them a lot. Play a lot of Fire Emblem. So generally good. I would love to have a new Final Fantasy Tactics game that's, you know, on an actual console, but... Alright, we're going to play some Gwent. I think there's like a separate game that you can just play Gwent on. I think about there's like a mobile Gwent game. Or maybe you can get on PC too. I haven't looked into it. Okay. I'll go first. I won the coin toss. I'm not big into mini games like this. I know some people are. Choose a card to redraw. I don't know if any of these are good. Okay. Some needs those special abilities. Biting Frost. Alright. At the start of each game, you can select up to 2 cards to discard and redraw. Alright, here we go. Here's your battlefield. Opponent's side, gotcha. Each deck has a leader. The leader grants you a special ability which can be used only once during battle. Pressing X. Press enter to select a card from your hand, plus enter again to place it on the battlefield. Can I just like drag it up there? Put a melee guy up here. There we go. During your turn. Okay. I'm probably not going to spend any time playing Gwent unless there's like some ridiculous reward for it, because I don't... you know, I remember playing these in lots of games, like Final Fantasy IX had... What was it? Tetramaster or whatever. You had one in KOTOR. I'm just not into them anymore. I'm into just core gameplay. It's like a waste of time for me to do this. Oh, see, he has a 2-power one. So... Then what do? Just keep playing? I'm gonna play this. Okay. Play that. Okay. Oh, this guy's from the first Witcher game, Siegfried. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Nintendo's the least woke because they're the most Japanese, correct. Sony has a lot of... been dominated by Americans. Like Sony of America. Back. cancel that. Put that there. What does this do? So it's the strength of all close combat cards to 1 for both players. Okay. Oh, no. Sorry. Keep wanting to hit that. Your opponent is passed. It's my turn. I don't know what I need to do here. What's the leader card do? Full test! Married. Banged his sister. An impenetrable fog card from your deck and play it instantly. Why not? Let's try that out. What is, I don't know what that does, but here we are. That negates that. You won the round. Okay. Round start. Okay. This is like kind of a slow-moving game. Oh, I can pick a card? Or do I get all these? Okay. Alright, this is fine, I guess. Is this another hand? Can I just accept this? No idea what I'm doing here. They're remastering this with ray tracing. Feels like that's such a waste of time. Antonio Sabato Jr. starting a conservative studio. Chris Pratt sounds like it'll be pretty conservative too. Do you think their movies will be quality or pure fixed level stuff? I won somehow.
Well, you've a knack for this game.
Yeah, it is cool music. I do like it. Yes, wokeness is a new religion.
I'll remember that.
It's like a secular religion. I mean, secularism itself is kind of a religion. One thing that's kind of interesting is, like, notice that his armor, like, fits him very snugly around the midsection to, like, make him look good. Really, you probably wouldn't look that good in armor. Because it's got to go over your head. It's got to go around your shoulders to get down there. So like a t-shirt, it might be a little bit loose. And you're probably wearing like a coat of plates or something. You know, armor tends to make you look rather large in the trunk. Alright. Alright, We're going out here. Hey, there's a cat. Can I pet it? Is this game easier to play with like a controller? I can walk around here. Yeah. Is it easier this way? Okay, so this is. Oh, sweet! It just switched to like the controller stuff immediately. Someone's screaming. How do I jump? Let's see here. Alright, that attacks. That's a strong attack. It's a jump. Alright. How do I put my weapon away? That's the question. Oh, I lit something on fire. Oh, it skips back immediately. Alright. I'm not sure if this is easier to play in like a controller or not. I tried out with a controller for a while. Is there a quest around here? Here's a quest. Notice boards. Gotcha. Let it be known. This one. If he fell, and I know it's like he did, I'll give him up to the ground at the least, like our fathers have done always. I'll bury him neath the barrow where our parents lie, not leave his corpse to be ate by the corpsers prowling the battleground. So I seek a man brave, able with sword, and willing to venture out with me to find Bastion. I won't pay much, for I've not much to give, but I'm not stingy with gratitude, and sure to show it aplenty. And drive a monster away. Wanted. Here we go. Wanted deserter. Take that. All right. Potentially interesting places. World is brimming with interesting places. Hidden treasure, dungeon, monster nest, place of power, spoils of war, guard. Okay.
Here.
You don't need to take any of those other ones. Whatever, I took one. Oh well.
Set fire to my forge. Got a nice and roaring. Roasted some meters. What do you think happened, dimwit? Some bugger set alight me workshop. I've lost everything. Everything!
Sorry. Any suspects?
Whole damn village. I've lived here half a century. Thought they saw me as one of their own. But everything changed when the Black Ones came. The only smith around, so I got to service their garrison. Bang gains out to play, shoe horses. That sort of thing. Nilfgaardians don't pay me a bloody copper. Just give me supplies and orders. Humans can't fathom that. They think I'm getting rich off their misfortune. I sleep on a pile of gold like a ploughing dragon. They've stopped talking to me. Spit when I pass. And now this.
I can find your arsonist, provided you're willing to pay.
I've not much left. I'll give you all if you bring that horse. So that he gets what he deserves.
The night of the fire, I heard movement outside my hut. Went out to see if I could find any tracks. I found nothing. Then I haven't got cat eyes, have I? Good luck.
Okay. Interesting. Does M bring up the map? It does. Very good. All right. My chair is sinking. There we go. Interesting. Around here. Undiscovered location. See, I like maps. There we go. Elves, dwarves, halflings, gnomes. Elves, dwarves. Oh, I can sharpen my blade here, apparently. Up, up, up. Oh, I can loot this. Okay. Got a warm leather pelt. Where's the grindstone? It's over here. There it is. Walk in there, Geralt. Your items have been enhanced. Okay. I think someone wanted to meet me by the bridge. Go look up there. Horse is summoning. To have your horse come to you, press X. Okay. There's something over here. What that icon is? Oh, it's a dead body. It's something to loot. It's a dead goose. Kill these other geese. You know, the beginning of the first Witcher game kind of felt like this. Everything was all dark and dreary. You walked and like the camera panned back in weird ways. It's kind of interesting. Gotcha. Let's go across the bridge. I thought there was a guy that wanted me across the bridge. A Witcher VR experience would be interesting. But I don't think you could do this combat in VR. I think Skyrim works because it's FPS combat, basically. I think this probably wouldn't work as well. I do want to play Skyrim VR at some point, but I don't want to like buy a PSVR. It's a lot of work. Yeah, God, I can like, some stuff here. Gotcha, 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 gotcha. Okay, 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 okay. Okay. It's not the first time I've played a game. All right. There you go. There you go, other. Contract. All right, from the well. On the road to White Orchard. All right. Now let's go back to the map. Sorry, I don't know how to play this game, so I'm like, what? What am I looking for? Alright. I've made camp there. Alright, I'm looking for a camp. I don't know if it'll show up on the map. Where am I? It's probably over here somewhere. See if I can find this guy's missing brother. Yeah, I got the idea of potion making. It's whatever. I don't want to concern myself too much with it right now. I just want to kill some stuff. Figure out how to actually, you know, swing my sword around. Looks like the combat's pretty similar to Witcher 2. Witcher 1 had way different combat than these. Much simpler. It's a ford. Guessing he must be over here somewhere. Probably change this. Ransacked village. Go through this stuff. Yeah, I'm just figuring this out. Anyway, let's walk around. Let's just see what we can find. You charge. Oh yeah, let's change which quest. All right. Oh, there we go. That makes it easier. I don't know if my horse is close enough to come to me. Probably not. Oh, here he comes. Come on, Roach.
Let's go.
Ford the river here. This is very spooky looking. I like it. It's got great atmosphere. So this was a, you know, the second Witcher game had such a cool atmosphere to it as well. That's one thing that I liked about the first game, was that even though the graphics were honestly pretty lacking, the atmosphere was really good. It had a great kind of spooky atmosphere. And the graphics were still felt like they were crafted, you know, with love. Rather than just with nothing in mind, you know. Like, I feel like so many games just have a graphic style that to me is just boring. Even though it's high fidelity, there's just nothing to it. There's no direction to it. There's something over there with the red under it. Let's figure out what that means. There's something here. Maybe it's under the bridge? Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out later. Come on, Roach. My biggest problem with this game is the level scaling, which is the main reason I don't want to replay it. New Game Plus, where you're already maxed out, makes monsters invincible. Interesting. Hey, Constantine.
Come on, Roach. Give me that.
Oh, the writer's strike around 2008 was I'll tell you what it was about. It was actually it was about money, sort of. What it was actually about was they had all these clips online that writers weren't getting any kind of royalties for. That's what it was about.
Do that
So
often.
NBC was putting stuff online for people to watch, and they weren't paying the writers royalties for it.
But it's his mine now. See, Bastion fought the Black Ones in a battle just outside the village. Haven't had word of him since. I told him, do like I did, lose a finger or two so they won't recruit you. Damn affair he was.
I'd walk the battlefield if I were you.
I did. Sea of corpses. And corpses feeding. Someone told me they were feared of fire, so I took a torch, trying to chase them off. Horse shite, I tell you. Would have ended up eaten alive if it weren't for Hussar here.
Man, mean-looking dog.
Guessing you carry those swords for more than show. Come with me. Keep the calls off. Help me find Bastion and I'll pay you well.
I'll help.
Fine, I'll help you. Just been a few days since the battle. Chances we find your brother alive is slim. Very slim.
I would have thought, but I want to find his body at least. So Bastion don't rot there in the sun with the Black Ones. Meet me on the hill overlooking the battlefield. We'll move on together from there.
Alright. Yeah, oddly enough, like this game reminds me more of the first Witcher game than the second. Well, he's really taking off, isn't he?
Slow now. Whoa. Give me that.
Here we go. I do like that darkness is pretty dark. It'd be better if they made it straight up like EverQuest blackness.
Move it.
No one ever has the guts to make nighttime truly dark in these games. It's something I've noticed. Are the Dune books very interesting? The first Dune book is
War just started.
one of my favorite sci-fi books. After that, it's kind of a mixed bag because the whole series is about things very different from what you might think it's about. But the first one, for sure, I can recommend it wholeheartedly.
But yeah, good.
After you read the second one, you'll know whether you want to continue or not.
He's
I think
must be
it's-
there somewhere.
The later books are still very interesting, but they're not as good as the first
One
one.
by one.
First one's just a great story.
You needn't fret. The recruits from my orchard painted a small flower on their shields so as to be able to spot each other in battle. There was just a few of them. You look for the flowers, we'll find Bastion quick.
No offense, but many a soldier dropped his shield, especially if he was on the losing side.
Talk about a
If we
route
shield
there.
Alone, the Tsar will catch the scent and lead us to Bastion. Come on. The sooner we get this done, the better.
All right. I guess he's following me. Yeah, there's gonna be some dudes over here, and ghouls. And I've always liked the animations in these games. Even the first one had good animations. All those ghouls. It's like, you probably wouldn't leave swords on the battlefield, by the way, because they're valuable. Usually strip the dead. Oh. There we go, there's a clue.
That him?
No. Neighbor's son.
Some corpse water.
Come on, that's all. Can you slow past me, boy?
Nearby. Oh, there's the shield, right?
That him?
No. Neighbor's son. Come on, that's all. Can you slow past me, boy? Still.
Looks like he keeps... Looking for the shields here. We gotta pick through a bunch of dead bodies. I'm walking too far away, it says. Oh, there's one.
That him?
No. Doesn't look anything like him. Come on, that's all.
Skin's burned off. Might be hard to tell, I know, but could this be him?
Bastian was big, broad-shouldered. This one seems smaller, but maybe it's the fire with that.
Uh-oh.
You found him! The SARS caught his scent! Come on!
Aha.
But there is more. My lieutenant demanded we defecate on command. Ballista bombs landing all around, and all he could say was, "A soldier with a full stomach will not step onto the battlefield." Now shit, that is an order. Can you believe it? The cretin.
Stop! You're kidding me. My ribs. It hurts to laugh.
That needs a tourniquet. But first, want to explain what's going on here?
Bastian! Has this Nilfgaardian captured you?
No. He saved my life. I got a cut to my side, and then got hit in the head. Couldn't see anything. Rosinia found me as he crawled across the battlefield. His legs twisted.
Oh, hold down control, you can walk a little bit.
So we were. Blind man leading a cripple. Found this place.
I'm taking you home.
This dude's wearing some like cut off gym shorts. It looks really silly.
Leave Rosinia. Although he'll die, and he can't go back to his home,
He's deserted. They'll hang him.
And what have they finding with us? They'll hang us all, my Laisha included. No, the Blacken stays here.
Bastion only made it with the Black One's help. Maybe you want to show him Nordlings aren't as barbarous as Nilfgaardians make us out to be.
Well, I could give him our pa's clothes, teach him to work the field. But that accent... Fine, I'll take him in. Thank
There you go.
Richard. Your reward. And the gods protect you.
Alright, I got a whopping 25 XP for that. Woo! Alright. Now, let's do the next side quest. Oh, I should have looked behind before. I gotta go back there. There we go. Let's do that one. After we do that one, we'll probably call it a day. I want to record some more videos on random stuff, and I want to work some more on the book. Come here, Roach. Hither, Roach.
Come on now.
Now we shall go yawn. Spooky moon. Moon is like straight up orange where I'm at here in California. So that's fun. I love an orange moon.
Faster.
It's orange because of all the smoke. It looks like a PS1 game outside. By that I mean the draw distance is turned way down. Oh, there's a cliff.
Let's go.
We'll have to.
Whoa there, bro.
What's a way to go around this? Let's go around that way. Alright. Maybe that's the sun. That's the sun. Alright, horse stamina. Oh. Horse's fear level, huh? We got wolves here. Where am I going? I'm not going the right way. Yeah, I wanted to go this way. I guess I'll go through the town here. Can I get off? Can I loot these? Where the other wolf went? Pick some flowers. It's not a game unless I'm picking flowers. You guys know what I mean.
Move it.
Hey, be nice to Roach. Okay. That dude did not run away from the wolf. I'm guessing the red dots mean stuff that wants to kill me. So, let's figure it out.
Faster.
I pick this. The only boring bits in Witcher 3 is when you had to play as a female. Get out of the way, woman. I'm a Witcher. There's some... Are there bad guys?
Go, go.
Sun. Beautiful. This really is a very good looking game. They made a pretty good engine overall, I'd say. You better regen your health. Yeah, I'm getting a little low here. I'm trying to remember if I have to do it at a fire or not. I wonder if I don't know how to play this game yet, so. In the other games, you know, you had to basically set up a little campfire. And that worked. You can eat some bread. Kills my wounds when I eat bread. It's very nice. Very nice indeed.
Let's go.
Pretty. Windy. You can tell I turned my draw distance down a little bit. Things are kind of popping in. Eat some bread. My medallion is shaking. Alright, I was going to look behind the shop here for some clues. Barrel here. Over here. Like that. Pick some flowers. There should be a perk you can get to give you auto regen. But now you should have a point to unlock. Yeah. I'm not sure I do. Need some bread. So where's the clue I'm looking for? Let's try tracking that quest. There it is. There's our
blueprints, commands, barge.
Okay, let's go look over here.
Stinks of piss and vodka.
Do you like in the first game he calls everybody pleb? Which I loved. Geralt calls people plebs. Everybody knows the best way to take fist tech is to fold back your skin and rub. Where? Where you can fold back your skin.
Took off his boots and ran to the water. Probably wanted to cover his trail.
Some flowers. Pick some flowers. Some puffballs. There we go.
Something jumped out of the rushes. Drowners, but he managed to escape. Lost his boots in the rush. Bleeding, but not badly. Surface wound. Tracks lead back to the village.
Obviously, they lead back to the village. We're gonna find out who did it. Ooh, mushrooms. Oh.
Trail ends here, but I'll recognize him by his wounds.
Guess I can just take this stuff, huh? Peasant's not gonna care. I think maybe I have to go outside and look at some people.
You took bigger bollocks than the Moonlight's Union. What do you want? Freak? What do you want?
I mean, is he in the house?
Oi, now.
Look at me.
Look for someone with wounds dealt by drowsers using your Witcher senses.
Hmm?
Oh.
I don't know if that means the town or what. Hey, have you played any of the Persona games? Yes. I'm playing Persona 4 Golden right now on my Vita, which I guess you could play for PC now, and I do recommend it. So yeah, I played a couple of Persona games. They're good games. I like them. So I'll take that for what it's worth. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to look here. Yeah, see, I mean, I went in here, but I didn't see anyone with wounds. Maybe the boy?
Mum don't let us talk to strangers.
I scared him, I guess. A black magic doll, that's cool. Oh.
What do you want?
They're snorting at me. She says he's nearby. He's inside the house, okay. Maybe I need to like pull out a torch. Can't see anything here. I'm not seeing any wounds. Oh, there it is. There it is.
It's gotta be him. Nasty wound. Run into a drowner.
There he is.
Fuck do you care?
Whoa.
Did you ever train in a martial art?
Too.
Yeah, karate when I was a kid.
Smith wants
But
to talk to you.
Why not talk to a non-human? Sons of bitches all, and dwarves are the worst. Greedy little magpies do anything with gold, they will. If they forge the blades of black ones put to our throats, am I not right?
Someone shat outside the Pelosi's house. Could be anyone. There's lots of pooping in San Francisco.
Don't turn me in. My mum died a while back and I sold her tools. I spent some, but what's left is yours.
No chance. You're coming with me. Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
I'm not. Can't buy me.
Then I'll beat your fucking mug to a pulp.
I will try that.
Calm down. Now follow me.
Oh, it worked. This guy coming? is. Well, he's pretty drunk, isn't he? Alright. Come on, my dude. You are slow. Can I just pick this guy up and carry him? I'm not interested in Cobra Kai, personally. It's okay, though, if you like it.
Kings do the fighting. Peasants do the dying. Any tidings from Brazil?
Come on. Wow, this guy is slow. Nancy Pelosi is old. I feel like there's a bunch of older politicians that are just semi-senile at this point. And Nancy Pelosi might be one of them. Not as bad as Joe, but like it seems like she just doesn't even really think about what she's saying.
Up and at 'em. What's going on? Here you go. One village pyromaniac in the flesh.
Now, you! I knew your mum for years. Charged an area copper. This is how you repay me. I've had enough. Hey, soldier. A minute of your time, please.
No! Willis, I beg you! I was drunk! Didn't know what I was doing!
I've told you, Master Willis. We will help you rebuild once reinforcements come. The supplies have been ordered.
Not what this is about, mate. This here's the arsonist. The Witcher found it.
The forge was important to the garrison. Destroying it was sabotage.
Oh man, they're gonna hang him.
No trial needed here. Just a tree.
Oh, nice.
Villagers will really love you now.
Well, no, I don't give a flying fuck about them. You know, I hated the black ones at first, like everybody else did. Now I'm thinking they might just bring order to this place. Teach these layabouts some manners. But enough about that. Your reward. And I managed to save some things from the fire. Anvil still holds, so I'm sure I can bang something out on it. You need anything, let me know. Give you a good price.
Alright. Well, all's well that ends well. All's well that ends well. With hanging people for burning things. It's not nice to burn people's buildings down. Alright. I think I'm gonna call it here, guys, because it's been like 2 hours. So this is a fun game. So I'm probably play more of it. Might play some off stream too, just to embarrass myself less with the combat. And maybe I'll see you guys later for Final Fantasy once I feel like setting up in the living room. So I do appreciate it. Here's what's up with the books. So Keys for the Creativity, if you liked my little pep talk at the beginning. A lot of stuff in here on just organizing your process and lots of options that I've used over the years to get things done, including doing things in a sprint or just doing things over time. Little things add up in a big way. When you do a little bit every week, all of a sudden you find you have a huge back catalog. Like at some point, I didn't even keep track. At some point, I passed 1,000 YouTube videos. I've made 1,000 YouTube videos at this point, which is a lot, right? So 1,000 videos on YouTube is a ridiculous amount. But how did I get to 1,000 videos? I just made a couple videos a week for a couple years, and then I was at 1,000. Wow, you know. So there you go. That's how you end up with a large catalog of work. when I finish this book and put it out in October, it'll be my like 15th book or something, right? So eventually you put these out, and within a couple years, you don't know where you're going to be. You're going to be in a great place. Same thing with anything else. So, all right, guys, thanks so much, and I will see you all next time.